in your opinion?
Women's rights. Oh, gosh. I've had women's rights, I believe, possibly not equal pay for the job always, but for the most of my life, I can vote. I've always been able to vote. I've had fairly much equal rights in most areas. But I believe that equal rights started years ago with women's suffrage, and that was that had a lot to do, I think, with there were different wars, and all the men went away to war, and the women went into the factories and everything, and they worked, and they took the place of men. And then the men came home, and they wanted to get rid of the women, and women wanted the right to work, the right to be paid, the right to vote for the government and the propositions that affected their life. And I'm definitely in favor of that. There are some very much later things with women's rights, like when it comes to Roe versus Wade and the issue of abortion, that I'm not in favor of. I totally draw the line when we start deciding who lives and who dies. I'm not in favor of that. But all in all, I think women's rights has been a good thing.
What's the craziest thing you've ever done as a kid?
A crazy thing. Gosh, as a kid, I didn't do crazy things. I was very conservative, private school, church every Sunday, very strict parents. I didn't do crazy things. I lived in the country. There was wooded areas on two sides of my house, and I was always finding things in the woods. I found a litter of dogs, which were part wolf.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it was really interesting.
You never told me that.
And
I want to find a litter of dogs.
I found a pond, kind of a pond that was left from all the rain, and it was full of tadpoles. And I brought tons of tadpoles home and had a card table full of bowls of these little tadpoles that turned into frogs and eventually jumped out. And who knows where they went. I guess we were sweeping up tadpoles for months. Crazy things. Nope, I don't think I did crazy things.
Can you please rate the presidency of Dwight D. Eisenhower?
Eisenhower's presidency ended when I was like, gosh, I had to have been in 8th grade, 9th grade, somewhere in there. So other than what I studied in
So what
high
were they
school,
telling you about it in high school? What did your teacher have an opinion on?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that everything I know about Eisenhower, he was liked. He was very well liked. The American people adored him. He was a war hero. He was a general in the Army. And General Dwight D. Eisenhower, a 5-star general. And he was just very popular with the people. He had very, I think, conservative policies on everything. And the United States prospered under his 8 years of being president. And that's pretty much what I know about Eisenhower. I'm trying to think of what it was he did that was so outstanding, and I really can't think of anything. I know that he initiated a lot of and worked with a lot of the issues like Nassau. I think he started and helped with Nassau and the United Nations. And he was the one that Sputnik was during his administration, and so he was a little behind because the Russians beat us to putting technology, satellite in space. And so he was racing to get there. And other than that, he was just a very well-liked president, very popular.
What impact did Joseph McCarthy have on anti-communists and crusade?
Let's really do this because I don't know Joseph McCarthy. I just don't even know what to say about him. I don't know who he is. I don't know how he impacted history, or what his influence would be. I just don't know the name. The only McCarthy I know is a puppet. So
What puppet?
there's a puppet. It's puppet. What do you call those?
Ventriloquist?
Yeah, it's a ventriloquist with something McCarthy and his handler. The one that does the thing. I just don't know Joseph McCarthy at all.
Do you think the USA should have followed George Kennan's Cold War strategy of containment?
You don't?
Nope. I don't know anything about that. So you can go ahead and ask it. And what are you recording right now?
Yes, I am.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't know anything about George Kennan's Cold War. I just don't know anything about that.
How do you feel about the U.S. involvement in Korea?
Is it recording?
Yes.
Okay, great. I believe the United States needs to be involved in Korea. North Korea has always been an aggressor, it seems to me, throughout as long as I can remember. And they're communist. They're a communist country, and they're building weapons of mass destruction. They're collecting that chemical that puts the bombs together, plutonium or something like that. And I believe that the United States needs to be involved. Otherwise, I believe when they get their bombs together and everything, I think the United States will probably be their first target. So it's to our benefit and to the world benefit to use some control on Korea. Korea. I'm talking about North Korea.
Yeah.
They actually move into South Korea and keep trying to take over those people, and they can't do that. We don't allow the communist countries to take over other countries.
If there was a World War III, who do you think would start it?
World War III. Possibly Korea or somewhere in the Middle East. Someone, Iraq, maybe.
Do you think there's going to be another killer leader out to kill everyone? Probably a specific race.
I'm biblical. I'm into it'll be the Antichrist.
Did you consider Harry S. Truman to be an effective or ineffective president?
Okay, Harry Truman. This is the president that put the bomb on Hiroshima. I think a lot of people would not have done that. I would not have done that. And he's been highly criticized throughout history for doing that, for bombing, for being the first president to use an atomic bomb. And I don't think that's necessary. It did end the war, and that was the goal of bombing, of dropping that bomb, was to end the war. And he did do that.
But you don't think he ended it the right way?
No. Diplomatic ways are always better. It's always better to do it with talk. Of course, we were already in a war, so maybe that wasn't possible. But when you start dropping bombs on other countries, you kind of open yourself up for the same. And I certainly don't want any bombs being dropped here. So he's been highly criticized. He all in all, I think he had his entire presidency, and I think he served 8 years. I think he was an effective president. I think he did well. I think he worked with, did a lot of work with Social Security, and that could have been about the time that the United Nations was, really starting to work and pull together. And I think he did do a lot of good things, but it was always overshadowed by the fact that he was the president that dropped that bomb. So I would say his presidency was effective. He ended the war. He worked with a lot of things that helped the American people.
Do you have any close relatives or family members that were in any of the wars?
Yes, my uncle, my father's brother, was in World War II.
What was he?
He was in the army.
Did he die in the army?
No, he died at home. He came back. There were a lot of things in the war that were taken, and there was a movie made recently called Monuments Men about a detail that was put together to save the important artwork and statues
you're telling Mom about
everything of the wars. And it wasn't just,
Tell the story of someone that actually got one of the photos because they stole it from someone.
yes,
Tell the story.
that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
My uncle actually, all of the artwork and everything wasn't confiscated by governments. Some of it was taken by servicemen. My uncle actually had a large oil painting of an aristocratic woman. All my life that I can remember, it was in his living room. And I always wondered who she was. I thought maybe it was some relative of my aunt's or something. But it wasn't. It was an artwork that he had taken from one of the homes that he had gone through as a serviceman at the end of the war. And he had it all his life. I think it would be interesting to find out who it belonged to originally.
Do we still have it?
I have no idea, because that isn't my side of the family. It is my side of the family, but the photos, I think, in photographs, the oil painting belongs to my cousins.
Darn.
It was my uncle.